We are here with Eric Paslay. He is Grammy nominated. You know, you've written and produced more than 5 country songs that have hit the #1 in charts. You've written for bands like Rascal Flatts and Keith Urban. And I'm just asking, when you were a young kid, you know, in Texas, 15 years old, starting off playing the guitar, did you ever see any of this in your future?
None. I had no hope. No, I'm kidding. I mean, music is such a wild business that you know better going into it. So like any of them happen is, to me, a million miracles. Any #1 song is a million miracles, because your job is to write the song, your job is to hopefully sell the song as best you can. However you're doing it, work tape or, you know, now Suno demos, whatever you're doing. But yeah, so I'm glad to be here.
Okay.
It's an honor to be nominated, you know.
Right, yeah.
It's but you know, I had hoped, there was signs that I was pretty good at what I do.
When was one of the first signs that you thought maybe this can become like a career, a future, or something that's, you know, gaining a lot of traction?
Yeah, my first co-write was with a guy that had a record deal in Nashville, a guy named Brian Gowan, and he was signed to Curb. His wife worked at DreamWorks Records, and so they knew the music business enough, and it was kind of like, go to Nashville, don't go to Nashville, go to Nashville, don't go to Nashville. You're really good, you should go to Nashville, but don't go to Nashville, but go to Nashville. It was kind of that. You never know. It's if it lines up, but it lined up, but about 18 is when I decided. I was actually planning on being a pediatric endocrinologist for I have type 1 diabetes, and I was like,
yeah.
well, kids with diabetes can relate because I can relate to them, and we'll get through this together, you know.
Right,
so now I do the drug of music is what I give people. But yeah, so 18 is kind of when I decided, and then I went to school at Middle Tennessee State, moved up when I was 20, did community college back home in Texas, and then moved up when I was 20 and just shows, internships, parking cars, whatever I needed to do to get by. Make lattes at Starbucks for health insurance as a type 1 diabetic, and it all worked out.
Okay, I want to touch on that diabetes just a little bit. With life on the road and, you know, concerts here, there, flight, bus, everything, how does that play into how you go about your day-to-day?
I mean, it was before. I have like a Dexcom CGM now, so like every 5 minutes it gives me a reading and it yells at me if I need to get orange juice or not. But there are many years where I didn't have that. So I mean, I was testing my blood sugar level a lot on the road and just paying attention to it. I was always the designated diabetic enough to not get in too much trouble. I wasn't the party foul, but you know, it's just an extra thing. We all have our extra cards that you got to play, and mine's type 1 diabetes.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
but also I'll bring this up.
Okay.
Someone said, "Would you change it?" And it's like, well, you go changing one thing. How do those dominoes fall? You know, if you didn't walk through that door, say hello to that person, you never know how it would go. But I don't think I would be in the music business if I wasn't a type 1 diabetic.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because I don't want to stand out. I already stand out enough as a giant leprechaun, you know. But
Okay.
but I think being a type 1 diabetic allowed me to raise my hand in a room that I didn't want to raise it in and go, I need a juice box,
Right.
you know. So yeah, you know, to have not a real job, it worked out for me.
That's great. That's great. Talking about, you know, all the things that you've gone through, Nashville, writing records, producing, you know, all your albums coming out. What's your favorite moment of your career so far?
Walking in a room without a song, and then you show up and there's a song. Like, that's the magic trick of all. To go, that song playing right now did not exist at one moment.
Right.
Named most famous song on the planet, at one moment it didn't exist.
Right.
Now everybody sings it as if it was just,
Always there.
you know, always there.
Right.
And it wasn't. You know, and even name that famous person, and then name him 100 years later, nobody knows.
Right.
So there's so many layers to it. I don't have a favorite moment. It's
Okay.
nice when, you know, you get a #1, you get a Grammy nom, you get ACM, CMA, or, you know, get a record deal, finally get to go take it on the road. There's a lot of cool moments that allow the dream to keep going. But there's not. I think the coolest magic trick is and not a magic trick because we work on it a lot.
Right.
But it's is to go in a room without a song and then we walk out with one that might be a hit that gets sung for forever.
And kind of expanding on that, I want to touch on maybe a moment that's one of the biggest moments for anyone who's, you know, in the music business, hearing one of your songs on the radio for the first time.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And the wild thing
remember
is,
the first time?
well, it's not. I think like in the TikTok world now, where like someone might not even wanted a record deal and now they have one. which is that's cool. I think that's awesome. Why not? But it takes so long to get on the radio. You're going to every radio station in America 5 times over, or at least for me it was. So when it's like on the radio. I was going over a bridge in Tampa though. It was the first time I heard my song, my first single on the radio. And
did you blast it and scream?
Oh heck yeah, you know it. And we even filmed it back then, I think. But it's which wasn't that long ago. But it feels great, you know. And the first song I actually heard on the radio that I wrote was a song called "Even If It Breaks Your Heart" with a guy named Will Hogue, who I wrote it with. He was a rock artist, and it was his single first. So I actually would drive around Nashville waiting for Lightning 100 to play his single. It'd be like new music from Will Hogue, "Even If It Breaks Your Heart." And then Eli Young Band in Texas took it to #1 on the country charts. But that was it feels good when people say, you know, good job.
That's great. That's great. And I know that you touched a little bit on how TikTok has kind of changed the way that the music industry has kind of expanded. I want to talk about how country and country music has expanded over the years since your career has started. Have you seen that in when you're writing and when you're producing music, and how do you think that'll lead into new albums maybe coming out in the future?
I think television always influences music. Television always influences what we wear, how we talk, what we play. And it's like Stranger Things, The Weeknd came back. It's 80s music. It sounds like the 80s. We have all the 80s synth sounds back because of TV. What show came on TV? Well, Nashville first, and then all the Yellowstoners showed up, right? All the uncomfortable cowboys, which is fine. We're Lucchese's. They're actually called Lucchese, but I'm being silly. But I think it's, you know, television has definitely allowed everybody, you know, Saturday night, everybody's the urban cowboy back in Travolta. Like everybody in the 70s was wearing cowboy hats again. So it's cool to see everybody rocking their boots and their hats, and cool to see just like country music expanding. I've been going to Europe for about 10 years now, just seeing those crowds get bigger and bigger and bigger. It used to be like 50 people in a club, and now 500,000. And it's not just going back, but it's because the crowd's growing. And I don't know. I think people maybe want to go back to just roots, honest human music, and then we'll get back to disappearing people again. You know, just distracting them. But music is a fun thing. It helps the world get through what it's going through.
Right. Okay. And on that, you know, writing music is known to be like therapeutic. You know, you get all your feelings out, write it down on a piece of paper, make it a song. I want to talk about maybe one song that's been the most personal for you. And do you have a song like that you really just, as you're writing, you're like, wow, like this is a hard moment in my life, or something hard that happened to me, and I wrote it and I made a song out of it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think a lot of artists try to keep heartbreak around because it helps you write good songs. It's not healthy.
Right.
You shouldn't do that. But I feel like, I wrote a song called "She Don't Love You." My wife, there was a girl that I'd worked with for 4 years named Natalie, right? She was my music publisher. So that means I wrote songs, she heard them and got them to the famous kids. Or said, maybe that should be for your record. We worked together 4 years, and then I kissed her and she kissed me back. Now she's my wife. But there was a little period between there where we weren't talking at all because I was like, we can't date. We work together. Don't listen to that. If you love somebody, love somebody. And we still work together great. But I wrote this song called "She Don't Love You." It's not about her, but the last line was what I thought I would be. It's like, she don't love you, she's just lonely. Like, but she wasn't once upon a time. I remember her in sunlight. I remember her when she was mine. And I knew at that moment, if I didn't figure out the ridiculous rules of this world that aren't real and don't exist, I would let go of the girl that I would love her forever, and I would just be heartbroken forever and write about it for the rest of my life. So I don't have to write sad songs anymore because she married me, so it worked out. But that's you know, that was definitely an emotional song. I'm doing a show this week with a guy named Big Kenny from Big and Rich. My favorite song that nobody knows, well, my favorite song that was never on the radio is called "Less Than Whole," and it's nobody should be less than whole, and it's I believe in what it says, and it's one of my favorite songs to play on the road, and yeah.
It's great.
And I like all the number ones too. Barefoot Blue Unite and Breaks Your Heart, all those. But, yeah.
Perfect.
And Friday Night, mine.
Right.
Yeah.
OG song.
Yeah.
When writing songs like that, and writing it in some way, you're writing for an audience, you're writing for people to listen. Do you think about that? You think about, oh, I went through this situation, but it might be more relatable if I write it this way or a different way?
100%. One of the best little advice that I was given that everyone should know is who cares? Who cares? I mean, especially to me, myself, in iPhone world, who cares? If you have a story to tell, who cares? Why should I care? Right? I'm lonely. Who cares? I don't know who you are. Maybe you cheated on her. Maybe you didn't ask her out. Maybe you're a jerk. Maybe whatever. And but I'm lonely and I wish you were here. What does everybody do? Why? Because I miss you at the Bluebird. Oh yeah, you do. I sing all my broken heart songs are about you, Lottie. Go on and on. But it's making sure people care. You're not tricking them. You're not telling the truth. It's just making sure you tell the once upon a time in the right order. And I think that was one thing. So yes, I'm always aware of the audience. One, because sometimes people want electric, sometimes people want a steel guitar. Sometimes people just want beats when I'm writing in London or LA, but everybody has a heart and soul, and it comes back to that. And if we know we're just trying to help people disappear from a crappy life, then I know what song I'm writing. If we're trying to help people get found on a Sunday morning, I know what song I'm writing. And those are all fine to write, and hopefully you're honest with yourself, and in the end you did it for the right reasons. My goal is to help people find truth and love, not just get lost all the time, but you got to get lost to get found.
That's great. Sure, I'm sure you're aware of this, but IU and its campus itself has a huge student music life. We have a lot of student bands, a lot of student artists who are up and coming.
The girl that checked me in at the hotel's a musician.
Oh, great. See, they're everywhere. Yeah. And so I'm just wondering, for all those people out there in Bloomington especially, if you have any advice for them, since you've come from, not someone who was born into this industry or anything like that. What advice do you have them to keep pushing and to persevere?
If you love it, do it. If you want to be famous, you're not going to be happy. If your only goal is to be famous in anything, you're not going to be happy. Humans are not made to be famous. So if you're doing it to be an influencer, eventually you could have tons of followers, but if you're not happy, what's the point? Why are you doing it? I got money. There's a lot of wealthy people in the world that are really unhappy because they're not doing what they love. Find what you want to do, and then if that leads to influencing or being famous for it, that's great. But humans are not meant to be famous. There's a lot of 27-year-old musicians that died.
Right.
Because we're not meant to handle that amount of fame. But the main point of that, if you can't tell, I go deep. Like, what's your favorite color? Well, death. I'm kidding. But I think it's the advice is write the best song you can if you're in music. Listen to the radio and go, can my song even fit up there with them? And if your mom likes it or your friends like it, good job. But that doesn't mean you're ready for everywhere or for the radio, whatever genre you're in. And then if you have a great following, if you're selling out shows and selling out merch and freaking rocking TikTok, you also don't need a record label. That's what the record label's for. Let people know you exist. People already know you exist. Then it's up to you to figure out how deep into that you want to go. And sometimes a label's a great idea. I answered way more than you asked.
No, that's great. That's
but,
what we want.
Yeah.
That's what we want. Okay, to end on a little bit of a lighter note, you have an EP coming out. Yeah. What can you tell the world about it? Why should they listen? Who cares? Yeah,
no, I've got a project coming out. It'll be 4 EPs. It's for every season of the year. So it'll fit to me, the soundtrack of what I think that, what the spring should sound like, what the summer could sound like, what the fall and what the winter sounds like. So so that's what's coming out, and it's all different. I'm guilty of always making a different record. I just get bored with making the same record. It's still the same me, still the same heart, soul, mind, writing the songs. But I get bored just painting. I want to make a sculpture, do this, so it'll be fun. The spring's kind of new love sounds. The summer's kind of like honky tonk by the pool sounds. The fall's deep thoughts. And I still haven't figured out what I want to do in winter. It might just be me on a piano, or it might be even bigger than that. We'll see.
Perfect. Well, we look forward to seeing what you come out with. Thank
Heck
you
yeah.
so much.
Thank you, Maya.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Perfect.